Hello everyone, welcome to Lit Studio. I'm Karishma. I've qualified UGC NET JRF, and before that I've qualified UGC NET thrice, and I've also qualified AP Set and GATE. I'm currently a research scholar in the Department of English, Acharya Nagarjuna University. So I've also been a gold medalist in both my bachelor's and master's. So today's video is going to be about William Wimsatt and Monroe Beardsley, all right, and their important concepts called intentional fallacy and effective fallacy. All right, these are very important concepts in new criticism. So let's jump into the video. So now Wimsatt and Beardsley, Wimsatt, William K. Wimsatt and Monroe C. Beardsley. All right, these are their full names. So their works are, they wrote two essays called intentional fallacy and effective fallacy. All right, these two are the important works of theirs, and also these are their concepts as well. So through these essays, they contributed to new criticism, which shaped literary analysis of the 20th century. Actually, these gave a lens in the 20th century towards looking or approaching a text in a certain way. All right. So, what is intentional fallacy and effective fallacy? These are the terms as well given by Wimsatt and Beardsley. So, now let's first discuss about intentional fallacy. So, when you look at intentional fallacy, what is the first term that you look at? Intentional, which means it's like um, by knowing that's what the person's intention is, right? And fallacy is a mistake. All right, so now it is an intentional a mistake with the intention. All right, but it's not completely right, but when you look into the depths of this concept, you would understand what they are talking about. All right, they argue that the relevance of author's intention in the analysis of any literary work, they argue about it, they argue against the intention. All right, for example, when you read a book, we as literary students, or we are trained in such a way that we always go to the author and think about his intention while writing a text. All right, for example, a few days back I've come across this video saying that a literature teacher would go into the classroom and she would try on explaining a line called the curtains are blue. All right, the writer wrote a line called the curtains are blue, and then the literature teacher would be all like, see, the curtains are blue, there are multiple meanings on why the author could have written the curtains are blue, because it might actually suggest that the author's life has also been blue and gloomy because he has written only tragedies, and also it might also suggest the depth of his emotions. All right, there are so many meanings just because the curtains are blue. All right, maybe it's just his favorite color, or maybe it just came to his mind, okay, the curtains could be blue. But no, here we as literature students would try to study deep into the intention of the author. All right, you could read a text depending on the on what it actually conveys. All right, but here what do they do? What it conveys is given lesser priority. All right, and author's intention on how the meaning has to be, author's intention on how the meaning has to be is given a lot of attention from centuries. All right, so that is what intentional fallacy argues against. That is the entire theory that is wrong. That is what Wimsatt and Beardsley say, that you should not look at the intention of the writer while he is writing of with what intention he has written the book. All right, they say what says on the page is all that matters. Anything outside the text is considered irrelevant and potentially distracting. And if you take a text and compare it with outside things, you are like distracting yourself. You should only take the text, and anything outside the text does not matter for you to analyze the text. All right, that is what they say. And also they argue that it is impossible to determine the intention of the author or accurately, and the poem exists independently of both the poet and the audience. See, the author has existed in an entirely different timeline. All right, he might be also from different culture. He must be entirely different. So how can you, sitting individual at this point of time, in this period of time, could ever imagine or estimate what the author is going through, or what the author's intention behind writing that book? All right, you might be right, but there are major chances of you being wrong at all the times. All right, so for example, if you take the work of Shakespeare and try to read his Tempest, all right, then you cannot be obviously looking into the depths of what Shakespeare has thought. What is his intention on writing Tempest? What is his intention of making Prospero's character that way? And what is he trying to teach with the character of Caliban or something like that? So you should always be analyzing the text with the text in hand and nothing outside the text. All right, this principle challenges the traditional approach of seeking an author's intent as a key to understand a work, advocating instead of focus on the text itself. All right. So, what is the traditional focus? Traditional focus is on seeking author's intent. So this theory actually rejects the traditional approach and urges the literary individuals to understand the work and advocate the focus on text. All right, so that is what intentional fallacy is all about. Now if we have to look at the secondary concept given by Wimsatt and Beardsley, it would be affective fallacy. Now again, fallacy is a mistake, an affective fallacy. So it is a fallacy committing on the basis of affect. All right, it is a mistake committed on the basis of affect. So if you ask what is affective fallacy, through this they argued against considering readers emotional response, all right, as a valid method for analyzing any text. For example, this simply is completely opposite to that of reader's response theory. All right, if you don't know what reader's response theory, it the title would be sufficient for you to understand what the theory is all about. But if you want the details, we are going to discuss further about it as well in the coming videos. But the reader's response theory actually, you know, looks into the idea of analyzing a text towards the response that it produces on the readers. All right, so affective fallacy argues just against it. All right, so affective fallacy says that the reader's emotional response should not be taken as a valid method for analyzing any text, because they say that the reader's emotional response is very subjective. For example, if I read a certain work which has elements related to my own life, that book I could take it personally. All right, it might have a lot of influence on me. All right, and it might not produce equal influence on other people. All right, so you cannot give value to the book just because of the value, just because of the effect that it has produced on the reader. The reader might be very subjective, the emotional response is very subjective and also unreliable as the basis for critical judgment. All right, they explain this by saying that the reader's response is highly subjective and unreliable as a basis for critical judgment. So yeah, that is affective fallacy. Affective fallacy simply says that the effect any book has on its reader should not be taken into account while you are analyzing the work. All right, intentional fallacy says the intention with which The author wrote the book should not be taken into account while you are analyzing the work. They say that the text is an organic whole, and a mere text would be sufficient for you to analyze it. There should be nothing that you should look at outside for you to analyze the work. And what if you look anything beyond the text, it would just be distracting your analysis of the work. That's it. All right, I hope I made myself very clear with this video. Those are the concepts of Wimsatt and Beardsley. Now you can take a screenshot if you would like, and also make sure you include all these aspects and what they mean in your running notes, so that it would be easier for you to revise. All right, so yeah, make sure you subscribe. Thank you.